Hello world, it's Dave again. This is the post-speech contest post. Just going to talk a little bit about the experience today, going to the speech contest. How did everybody do? How did I feel about it? What were my thoughts? So on and so forth. It was really interesting actually. I was talking the other day, the pre-contest video, I was talking about how, you gotta regardless of failure, there's a real benefit in the whole experience and everything. And it was just funny because I was outside doing a little last minute practicing with the people who were there. And one of the girls who was going to perform today, going up to give her speech, her mom showed up, and I'm immediately thinking, I get obsessive when new Japanese face shows up because I want to try and use as much Japanese as I can, but this often causes me not to relax, and I freak out and forget everything that I know. And she had just asked at one point, just with a little bit of English she was using, she said, is she very skilled? And there's a couple of things I could say here, like one of them would be I could say, well, I wanted to say, she is very skilled at English. Or I wanted to say as an alternative to that, I wanted to say she's actually the most skilled. And so my response after she asked the question was to say, Anata wa eigo jouzu desu ne. And this means you are really good at English. And so when the mom asked, is my child good at English? I said, you are really good at English. Like a moron. I could have said, Kanojo wa. Kanojo is she. I could have used that, or if you want to say she's the most skilled, this is practice for me, you can say, Kanojo ga ichiban jouzu desu. I could have said either of these things. I even know them, but I freaked out in the moment, and it just kind of showed me before it even started. I was like, man, you got to take them losses on your chin, because I was kind of bummed. I was like, man, not another one of these missed opportunities where I could have spoke better Japanese, but they're like, oh, it's just another one of these foreigners doesn't know his ass from his elbow. So, that was getting me in the right space, I believe. And then the event went on just kind of in a really weird way. And I am determined not to be bitter about this. It's everything I said yesterday. I figured I'd be so removed and everything, but now I'm all invested. I wanted the kids to do so well. So I coached 3 groups, grades 1, 2, and 3, and at 2 schools. And my grade 1 group in one of the schools was the group that I was like, man, these guys, they could do really good. They're amazing. And they went up and I watched all the performances for them. And they really were amazing. I was like, oh, hell yeah, they got good gesticulation. They're having a good time. They're relaxed. Their pronunciation is better than everybody else's. And so I think they've got a great opportunity. And then later on, there was these people who had gone up to give full speeches as opposed to reciting something. And I figured I'd just sit tight until that was over, and then the next performance would eventually arrive. Until somebody came up and they go, oh, aren't you going to watch the other grades that you coached? And I was like, what are you talking about? And this is another one of the teachers, like English-speaking teachers. English, like, heritage. And I said, what are you talking about? I thought they're just like, this finishes it, and then they're up next. And they're like, no, actually, they've already started in the other room. And so the majority of the people that I had spent time coaching and went to go and see, I missed because nobody told me they were in the other room. And just unfortunate. It's nobody's fault. They could have told me, but at the same time, it's almost like when they leave you alone in this situation, it's an act of respect. They're like, I don't know, I guess Dave wants to sit down there and watch the other people. They just don't think to mention something to me that, the people are in the other room. So I did miss a little bit of it, but I got to see the ones that I thought would do really, really well. And then it came to the final judgment, and the strangest thing happened. The group that I thought would do so well, my grade 1s, they didn't even place. Out of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, they didn't even get a single placement out of it, and I thought that they were clearly better. And the people who I saw, getting 3rd place and over them, I was like, man, they were horrible. But I'm biased. I know that I've got that going on, so I've got, when you go into these circumstances, and the circumstances that they're going to compete in, you just got to accept it. As difficult as that is for me, I want to say things like, the judgment was horrible, but well, that's how it could have been. You accept that when you go and compete with it. So that's a shame, but that's the way it is, I suppose, and you have to accept that. But then I had coached, as I say, two schools, and one one grade two level student at one school, one grade two level student at another school, and both those students actually placed. They took third and fourth place. So that was really cool. I was like, wow, okay, two of the people that I coached from opposite schools managed to get placements. But then, to take a step back, it really is them. They were both strong individuals from the start. They really wanted to compete. It wasn't though they were told that they have to compete. So I don't take any credit other than maybe getting them a little bit out of their shell, maybe a bit. But I kind of just, they wanted to do it and I showed them to the door. I can't really say that my coaching was incredible. I more kind of got out of the way of their greatness. That's how we'll describe it. But I was really happy for them. They both were very talented. One of them, though, not quite as talented, and she really picked up as we trained with her. So I was like, wow, like most improved player went on and I got a placement. So amazing for her. Very, very happy. And then sadly, the groups that I coached for the grade 3 level, neither of those two groups managed to get a placement. So 2 placements in the second level. Blew my mind that they couldn't get a placement in the first level, given the playing field, but you got to accept it. And then no such luck in the third grade level. But I'm happiest to say that the kids all took it, like whatever. They were ready for the next day. I don't think when I had a conversation afterwards they intended it to be meant in this way, the way that I kind of took things from this conversation, but it was this, that I said, next year we'll get them, and I don't think I guess they thought that meant to me, you know, I'll see you next year. And they just kind of looked at me for a second. The kid said, next week. That's when they think they'll see me. But then I thought about that philosophically for a moment. I was like, that's true. It's not next year. It's every single day that I get a chance with you and you're actually interested to try and learn as much English as you can. Because like I'm saying in the other video, it's a personal victory. You just got to take your own personal victories. Somebody's always going to be better than you 99.9% of the time. And if you can just be happy with your progress, then you will never stop progressing. So I was inspired by them, whether they meant to inspire me in that way or not. But I was like, yeah, next week, you're right. I'll see you and you'll get better at English and I'm going to practice my Japanese so I can speak to parents more easily. But a final note. No, it was sort of negative. They were talking about there were too many hand gestures. The judges were saying, and that English, when you're speaking English, you don't say one and two and stuff. But I was kind of like thinking to myself that there was none of these speeches that any of the kids gave are speeches that we give in English. We don't talk about, I don't know, the Emperor and the Mockingbird. And so I think that there is an aspect of theatrics that goes along with this, and so to enhance your behavior, that you might enhance the way in which you gesture. Just like men on a stage, men in life don't usually wear makeup, usually, and if you do, I'm not judging you, that's fine. Maybe that's your thing. But we don't so often. And in theater, they wear all kinds of makeup, because it enhances the show. It's good for the audience watching and stuff. So I thought that criticism was a little hollow. I was like, I don't know if you can say that the kids should have been doing a better job of that, given the sort of presentation that they were giving. But that's kind of my removed thought on the judging. And then to extend that, you have to think, I was like, well, that you're kind of screwed then in that way. It kind of drives home the point that if you would think that you might adjust for that you're like, okay, well, I'll know for next year that I'll get the kids to be a little more, make it a little more natural. If you're going to gesture, make it a more natural gesture. But then I was thinking, what if it's a different judge next year and they're like, we want an aspect of theatrics. And so really you're left at the end of the day again with just keep developing your skill, your language, and compete in something like this to continue to progress. But do not obsess, because there are so many aspects of it that you can't control that the winners, it's often more of a fluke than a level of ability over anybody else. That's really what I saw. Also, I have to correct myself from my Be a Better Speech Coach video. And that I made a suggestion in that you should focus more on just the enthusiasm behind the performance, because less could be considered for pronunciation because it'll be Japanese judges. I was wrong. I have to correct that. There were English judges today, so they could think that much more about pronunciation becomes that much more important. It turns out I was wrong for once in my life. Can you believe it? No. Wasn't the last, wasn't the first, won't be the last, that kind of idea. But that's good to note, mental note for myself. But a wonderful experience. The most positive thing of all was just seeing how the kids came out at the end of it, and they were like, this was fun. They were happy to have done it. Nobody was depressed by the results. They were happy for the people in their group that got placements, and it was a great success. So that was wonderful. I was glad to be a part of it, a really interesting experience. And next year, I'll know that if you want to see everybody, that they sometimes host it in different rooms. Don't expect it all to show up in one place. I learned something. So the Japanese word of the day that we're going to go with today, in lieu of my mistake earlier, is going to be Kanojo, which means her. Really important if you want to say her or she, if you want to say she is really skilled, as opposed to someone asking about their daughter and then you refer to them instead. Very important. No song today. I'm going over 11 minutes here. This was never supposed to be more than like 4, so... thanks for checking this out. If you enjoy the videos, like and subscribe. I'll be making a bunch more about my experiences, adventures here in Japan, as well as the other interests that I have strewn across the whole channel. There's a range. All right, like I like to say, thanks for tripping with Dave. Until we meet again next time, world, ciao for now.